Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Hospitable Hosts podcast. We are joined by the team behind CrewDogs, a veteran-owned vacation rental company that is bringing a whole new meaning to hospitality, from leveraging their military backgrounds to building a strong brand centered around trust, excellence, and service. CrewDogs is proving that short-term rentals can be more than just a business. It can be a mission. We are also joined by three hosts that use both CrewDogs and Hospitable. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like and share. Okay, let's get started. Hello, everyone. So it's good to see everyone. I want to start off with introductions. So, Tony, if you want to start, tell us who you are, where you're videoing in from, and a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks, Gabby. Appreciate it. Tony Romeo here, Air Force Academy, 2002. Very proud of serving in the Air Force as an intel officer. After the Air Force, got out after 6 years, started a software company, which was eventually acquired by Zillow. Went and worked for Zillow for a little bit, and then ended up moving out to Charleston. Got my law degree, and that's where Adam and I met. Being fellow Academy grads, we connected right away. We've been working on CrewDogs since 2022, I believe, early 2022. As one of the founders, I'm super excited to be a part of this, to kind of get back to my roots, which was the Air Force and the Air Force Academy, which I really enjoyed, but I really like the private sector too. So this was kind of for me a nice merger of Air Force, military, and my business background. So I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Adam, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm out here in Charleston, South Carolina as well with Tony. Also from the Air Force Academy, but I spent close to over a decade flying C-17s out of Charleston. And now I'm just a part-time reservist flying still a little bit. And then while I was active duty, started working on CrewDogs. Really saw a need to connect the military community. And after close to 3, 4, almost 5 years now, we have what we are currently rolling out to the community. I'm really excited to be in the mix with Hospitable and to get this out and connect everybody.
Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to, get into CrewDogs and exactly what you guys do and everything. Jenna, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yep, for sure. Hi, everyone. I am currently in Columbus, Mississippi. So I am currently a T1 instructor. My husband, who is my co-business owner, is a T38 instructor. I was C-17s at Charleston also before this. We have way too many Academy grads. I am a 2019 Academy grad, and my husband is a 2018 Academy grad. So my passion, though, really, I kind of fell in love with real estate. Kind of like a lot of how military people do. I picked up a couple long-term rentals along the way, and then I kind of naturally fell into the short-term rental world. Now, fast forward a little bit, we own 2 short-term rentals ourselves. We have a medium term, and then, of course, the handful of long-terms that we have. And we also have a co-hosting / short-term rental business. So what we do is we help people, we consult them, or we also kind of teach them the ground up short-term rentals. And then we also do that management side of things. So we use Hospitable for all of our rentals. And then we also are super involved with CrewDogs. Luckily, I had the chance to meet Adam at Charleston. And I've been with CrewDogs ever since.
Amazing. Mike, you're the pretty face of Pat and you today, so go ahead, take it away.
That's only because Pat's not calling in with video. But Mike Costello, I'm here in Fort Worth, Texas. I spent 13 years in the Air Force. I was a B-1 Weapons and Tactics instructor pilot. Met Pat, my partner, with Co-Host Texas in 2014. We flew the B-1 together for, almost 10 or 11 years. We were deployed roommates in a couple different locations, and I've since separated. I got out of the Air Force last year, returned back home to North Texas, where I'm now a Gulfstream captain at a Part 91 flight department here. And just awesome to be with a lot of really cool military hosts and Hospitable. We love you guys.
Awesome. Pat, it's your turn. Take it away.
Yeah, hey everybody, Pat Walsh here. I currently live out in the DC area. I'm still in the Air Force. I'll change it up from everybody. I did not commission through the Air Force Academy. I'm a regular college kid that went through ROTC. Like Mike said, I've been in the B1 since 2012. I left the community a couple years ago to do some school, and now I'm off doing staff. And I picked up real estate on my first deployment in 2015. I kind of like nerded out in my room reading all these books, and then finally pulled the trigger on my first long-term rental in 2017, and it's just kind of history since.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely surrounded by some pretty incredible people. So thanks all for joining me today. Now I'm just going to focus on Crew Dogs here for a bit. So Tony and Adam, can you kind of tell us what inspired you to build Crew Dogs? I know we got into it a little bit, but just go into the story and what is it all about?
Yeah, so my background, my grandparents both served. I come from a military family with my father, so I kind of have a deep passion for the community. And what I saw throughout my service was just a disconnect from our ability to find, talk with each other. We're kind of just fragmented across a bunch of different platforms. And then especially as it pertains to travel and housing, how do we find extra rooms? How do we connect with those we trust, right? So a couple of years ago started working on, I would call it a project at the time. I was active duty, and that's when I met up with Tony, and we started putting it, into motion. This platform that could pull in, owned homes by veterans, military family for vacation, roommates, and now where we're kind of moving into even free, a couch or an extra room, to kind of bring the community together around this trust aspect, who that solution is for what your home is. So that's where we're at now. We're really excited to connect, people like Jenna, Mike, and Pat, and bring them in and give them a platform to reach that community, and then also give them a way to pour back into some of the causes that support us. So we went out last year and partnered with 9 veteran nonprofits. Um, Anything from Fisher House Foundation, which gives homes to vets on medical travel, to Huts for Vets, and then Folds of Honor, which does Gold Star family educational expenses. And we're just now starting to be able to distribute out donations to those causes and support them. And so what we hope towards the end of this year, as we build this thing out and continue to grow, is just giving a big check to all these awesome foundations, and then hopefully letting them book on the platform as well at a discount and free with our donations.
Awesome. Tony, anything to add there?
No, that was good.
Yeah.
He covered it
Yeah.
all. That's all.
Got it all. Awesome. And it seems like the community has really responded pretty amazingly as you guys started, but can you give me a little bit about how they have responded since the launch of 2022 and any feedback you've gotten or what people have said about Crew Dogs in general?
I think one of the coolest things is that we're hearing from everybody. It's young airmen to guys that served in Vietnam. And Adam, we have a vet that was 98 or something? Correct? What was it was like 99 or maybe even 100 years old that was on the platform, and that was super cool to hear. Not only that they were using computers, but they're actually into Crew Dogs. And then we've had the young folks join as well, and so that's. I think we're solving for long-term, medium-term, short-term. So we're hitting all of Jenna's properties, and we're also hitting free too. We want this to be about. This is at the base level. This is about the military community. It's about all of us coming together for the same reason, and that bond is because we all served or our spouse served. And if you're on the platform and you want to stay for free, you have to list your home for free. You have to be part of the community. I'll tell you, I had 6 nights about a week ago. I had an Army vet come through and stay at my house is listed on there for as a space A. We call it space A, just like if you're going to jump on a jet and fly somewhere. I had an Army vet come through and stay with me for the night, and it was super cool. It was it wasn't you wouldn't be like just some random person off the street, right? It was somebody that we shared a common experience, and both who went through basic training, both had this common background. So it was really cool. And we'd like to see everybody be a part of that. And, if they do the short-term rental stays, the long-term, that's great, but join us just to be part of that, at least part of that free Space A community.
Definitely. And that's something to be said as we have a global audience. The military here in America is very tight knit and a really, really great community that this True Dogs is just kind of inspiring even more to create that beautiful community. So moving on to our hosts, what inspired you to start hosting and how did you first hear about Crew Dogs? Jenna, if you want to start with this question.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what really inspired me to first start hosting, to be honest, so we were kind of running long-term rentals. We didn't really know much about real estate at the time, but when you get like that first check and you make like $100, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you did absolutely nothing, that gets you really excited. And we really wanted to keep growing and we wanted to have the money to keep growing. And we kept listening to real estate books and podcasts and such. And then that's kind of how we fell into short-term rentals because, you're making more money, you're working a lot harder, but you are making more money. So to be honest, that's kind of what pushed me or inspired me to start hosting so I could build my portfolio a little bit faster. And then you said, why did I originally go on Crew Dogs?
Or how did you first hear about it? I think you brought this up earlier, but
Yeah. So in Charleston, I think word kind of got around that I, loved real estate and someone was like, "Hey, do you know Adam?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, why don't you know Adam?" And like they said, "Have you heard of Crew Dogs?" And I'm like, "I don't think I have." So I got in contact with him and it's been awesome ever since. It's kind of like, of course, like I love the whole military aspect of things. I love giving back to that community, but in the same hand, you have to think of it like a business owner as well. The more places that your property is going to be on, the more people you're going to reach, and the more your booking is going to, or your listing is going to get booked. Is kind of how I think about it.
definitely. Mike and Pat, who wants to take it away?
My first hosting experience was actually during a 2018 deployment. Um, that we lived in Rapid City, South Dakota, just outside Ellsworth Air Force Base. That's the home of Mount Rushmore, the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally in the summer. So it's a natural kind of tourist destination. And like Jenna said, when you get that first now in the short term space, that first rent check, when otherwise you'd have had nothing, it kind of feels like you've invented fire. And I think it's an addictive feeling. But then took a break for a long time, and then Pat and I partnered up in 2021-22 timeframe and jumped into the short-term rental space after listening to, I think it was Avery Carl, kind of like the world on fire in the STR realm, right? And we got invested into a couple properties across Texas pretty quickly. And then it's just been fun to build the business. It just started out as two properties with Pat and I, and we realized, hey, we've got Hospitable, we've got Price Labs, we've got Rank Breeze, we have a tech stack, and we think we're kind of good at this. Why not try this for other people? And that's how our venture into vacation rental property management really kind of begun there. And I think we found Crew Dogs. It was last year, last March. I was one of the first to jump onto y'all's Facebook group. So I don't know if you're pushing ads through or whatever, but you found my profile. I joined in, and there was like 6 of us in there at the time. So it's been cool to watch Crew Dogs grow, be an early adopter to that. Pat, you got anything else there?
No, I got nothing to add there. Yeah, that for me it was really Avery Carl and like Bigger Pockets and getting plugged in with that community. And like Mike said, we had a long-term rental, and almost immediately we got hooked on the short-term rental. Bought a house down by the beach in Crystal Beach, and we've been loving it ever since.
Amazing. Avery Carl is one of our good faces of Hospitable, and we always head down to BPCon and are a part of the Bigger Pocket community. So it's awesome to hear you guys are also a part of that as well. I know Tony shared that amazing story of that 90-some-year-old that saw his house, Crew Dogs, this like-minded experience that they were able to connect with. Do you guys have any memorable guest stories that you would like to tell, and it's okay, but any that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I think it's Mike and I both love hosting military families. Having moved 4 times in the last 4 years, like both of us can really sympathize with like living out of boxes and moving all over the place. So anytime we can get more plugged in with the military community and provide, a safe, clean place for military and their families to stay is just awesome for us.
Definitely. Jenna, anything there?
Yeah, I'll say, you guys kind of touched on it earlier, Tony. CrewDogs reaches a part of the market that is not tapped into by Airbnb and VRBO. It's funny because just how we have more trust in the guests have more trust in CrewDogs. So a lot of these people, they are veterans or they're part of the older generation that doesn't necessarily like to book things off of their computer or off of their phone, but they're willing to do it because they have that extra trust in CrewDogs.
Definitely. I told my brother about CrewDogs because he's also a part of the military community, and I know his family and him are very excited to get connected and
That's cool. If I
that
can,
trust.
yeah, if I could add one piece on that, and Adam will jump in here too. If a big part of that trust for us is we're only it's a kind of an exclusive club, and then to get into that exclusive club, we're using ID&Me, which you guys probably all used at some point, and they are the go-to kind of company in the United States. They verify your military status, so whether it's your DD-214 or your military ID, they use that. Once you've submitted that to them, they verify that you were in fact a military service member, and then you can enter and become a crew dog. So you can't. This isn't just an open platform for anybody to go into, and we're really proud of that. We want to keep it an exclusive basis and not let it get watered down.
Definitely. We're going to move on really quickly here, just talking about Hospitable in general, because I know you guys all do use Hospitable, and it is a pretty unique case because you are gone so much. You don't really have the time to be on your phone 24/7. You might be on a flight. You don't know, as Jenna was before this. So how does it make hosting life easier? And in general, what are your favorite Hospitable features? Jenna, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll start. Guys, I'm such a nerd for Hospitable. I love Hospitable. So, like I said to my husband, he's my co-business owner, and we are both very busy. We're pilots, like I said, and we are still able to run a business, a short-term rental business for that matter, because of Hospitable. The automations, of course, are awesome. Of course, the ability for it to talk to all of your different softwares, to block off your calendar, amazing. The automatic notifications to my cleaners, to my handy people, awesome. I think my absolute favorite tool, though, that I think people kind of miss is the user management tool. So user management allows you to be able to connect anybody to your account. So a handyman, a cleaner. And then what I like to do is, I'm sure, Mike, I'm sure you guys are just thinking about this too. Whenever you add your owners, you can add them to your Hospitable account, and then you can choose exactly what you want them to see. So if you have an owner that you don't necessarily want them to be able to alter the calendar, then you can select that. Or if you have another owner that you want them to be able to change the prices, then they can do that. So yeah, that is right now my favorite tool. But yes, Hospitable is the key to my business.
We love to hear that. And Mike.
Everything Jenna said is spot on, so check there. I'll just say I was impressed with Hospitable when I sent it was an email about a feature or a question, and we'd only been with y'all for just a few months, and I got a response back in the middle of the night from your CEO. I said, "Oh, I recognize that name. Where do I know that from?" And so, like top to bottom, you have investment from everyone there. That's what I saw, and then. After having been a user of the company, of the software for a while now, being able to watch y'all grow and lean into different aspects of direct booking, which you guys have made like huge, I guess, strides in, or brand development and marketing, and the automations come a long way. So the research and development y'all put into it to continue to make it a better product is easily the most advanced and the best in our tech stack, and it's super impressive that you guys don't rest on what you've got, but you continue to build.
Thank you. And just a little nod to that tech stack. I know you said you're using Price Labs and all these other So hopefully by the end of this year to 2026, you'll just be using Hospitable and it will be the source of truth for everything, which is exciting. And we'll be integrated with CrewDogs, which is even more exciting. So yeah, we have a lot coming that's really great on Hospitable, but a lot more integrations and dynamic pricing and such. So back to, what advice would you give military families or veterans considering hosting? I know you said you made this $100 and you didn't really do much, but what else? Do you have any other tips, tricks, advice you would give?
Yeah, so I would tell people, I have a lot of family and friends, who've really been interested in the short-term rental game for a long time, years or months, and they keep asking questions, which is awesome. And they keep reading and they keep playing podcasts, which is so great. But you are not going to know the things that you don't know until you get into the game. I think what's important is for people to just make that next step and buy a property, get into STRs and get going, and then learn along the way.
Definitely. Mike?
Jenna stole my get off the sideline and jump in because that was spot on. I would say there's probably a lot of myth around STR that it's easy money or it's free money, but my advice would be, hey, if you're gonna jump into the STR space, treat it like a business, run it professionally, respect your own time and time of your guests, your clients, or your local team on the ground, your cleaners and your handyman, whatever, and understand that you can be successful and you can be in the 75th percentile of performers in your market if you take it seriously. And I want to hear what Pat has to say too, because he's a little more analytical with these questions.
You don't want to hear what I have to say about analytics, not in this conversation. No, I would just like to hop in and say, like, getting something like Hospitable, especially for military families, if you're going to be moving around, it has made running our business like exponentially easier and smoother. Both Mike and I are dislocated, and then both of us are dislocated from our properties, and we're able to manage both our own properties and several handful of other properties with relative ease, just because of Hospitable's automation. Mike mentioned it, the direct bookings. We've been getting a ton of those recently, and running them through Hospitable has just been a breeze.
Yes, definitely. Tony and Adam, do you have anything to add on to this advice you'd give for people considering hosting?
I mean, I echo everything that was said. I was when I was early commissioned as second lieutenant, and I was stationed in Cannon Air Force Base. Before I bought my first house, I did a ton of research on, like, kind of what Jenna was saying, and to sum it into one kind of idea, it's know your numbers. And once you have a good idea what the house costs, what your mortgage, taxes, insurance, what your cleaning, what your expenses are going to be, and then you can back out of that from the rent, what you're going to end up netting at the end of the month. Once you know your numbers, jump in and you can get into a good investment. And I think maybe one of the common mistakes, that I think Mike said it best, is like, this is short-term rental isn't easy money. It can be a nice passive source of income, but it is work. It's like anything else. You have to be paying attention. When you have a vacancy, have a vacancy coming, you're planning 3 or 4 months ahead of time. So you're going to fill it up by the time you get, by the time that your current tenant leaves. Same when you go to close on your property, you already have a tenant lined up moving in that closing day, things like that. So you need to be paying attention, know your numbers. It can be easy, but you need to be attentive and you need to know what you're doing. You need to, and do your research, know what's going on.
Definitely. Adam?
I would just say, there's never been a better time to start a company, whether that's short term, mid term, long term. In the age of automation, there's so many tools out there. You can build a tech stack and automate a lot of things that a decade ago were taking hours and hours a day. So do your research as far as the tech side, and then partner with somebody like Hospitable, who's churning out new features and new updates every week, and makes your life a lot easier.
Awesome. Well, as we start to wrap things up, what is next for CrewDogs in 2025? We want to hear it all. Let's go.
Yeah, we're really excited to roll out this integration and bring in Hospitable to this community of military members and family and just be able to give all of your hosts an ability to reach and support the community both through their hosting and then through the donations. I mean, we hit on it, but the one thing that we're is critical. And the one thing we saw for early on is how do we let hosts be in charge of where their money goes, right? That service fee is really frustrating to a lot of people because there's not a lot of transparency behind it. So we let every host pick what foundation they want to partner with. And then when a guest books with that host, they're booking with that foundation. And they can add a donation onto it, and the host can add a donation onto it, and then CrewDogs will donate towards it. So at the end of 2025, we want to hold a big check up for $100,000, and we want to give hosts, um, a tax advantage back for their donations via the stays that they hosted. And so we just want to connect, that purpose and bring it back into the hospitality because direct bookings are awesome. It pads the margin, but we just want to power more connection, and then we want to power more support for the military community through CrewDogs.
Definitely. Awesome. And then for our hosts here, any new properties or goals on the horizon for your business in 2025?
Yeah, so for us, we don't have any like specific properties in mind. Mike and I are always in the market looking at things, running numbers for things. But we just went through a fairly substantial reorganization or restructuring of our company this spring to set ourselves up for some gradual expansion this summer. We just picked up 2 more co-hosting properties. I think March was our first month with them. And we're kind of running with that. We just hired a VA for the first time this month. So that's been a new experience for us. So far, so good. But yeah, we're just looking for some gradual expansion as we get through this year.
Awesome. Jenna.
Pat said what I was going to say. Always looking at properties, always looking at numbers. We hope to buy our next STR here soon. Best time to buy was yesterday, right? Is what they always say. And right now looks like a really good time to buy. So we are out there searching, and hopefully we'll have that onboarded by the end of the year.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for all you guys for coming on here and for your time. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed Hospitable Host podcast episode, please do not forget to like and share. Thanks again.